look like Dustin, but is wearing a very colorful jumper. Could you introduce yourself, please? Oh, Alan, you're we can't hear you.
Yeah. Oops.
Okay, we can let you sort that out. Um, well, we have Alan. I'll introduce you just for him. Alan from N-Plan, CTO
As
of
a
N-Plan.
CTO.
He has been on here before, so people will be familiar with Alan. And some good news on their side. They just raised at 11.9 million pounds, Series B. So he's reveling in the glory as of now and coming on obviously on Bricks, Bucks, and Bytes to celebrate. Alan always has some interesting takes on the world of AI, true AI builder. So we will get his current sentiment and views on what's going on and that side of things. And then Patrick, one of your portfolio companies had some very exciting news which came out today. Factus, 56 million euro round.
That's right. Yep.
Awesome. You also released the State of AEC Tech 2020, 2023, 2025 funding, Q3. And then we will have Nitin from Planera. They just raised some money to go into data centers. And then we'll have Prakash, who's Navatech building in the UAE, Middle East. And he's going to share what's going on over there. And also, he has been on 5 startup accelerators now. I wanted to share with us and our audience his views on each of them and some advice and what happens when you go to accelerate your company at one of these places. Hey, Alan, welcome.
Okay. Is this any better?
Yeah.
He's
CTO managed.
I
don't understand what happened. We've been talking for 20 minutes, and as soon as you started recording, it changed microphone and wouldn't let me change it back. Yeah, hi everyone. Lovely to be here.
Good to have you back. Oh, one other thing before we get started. We're going to be at SpeckleCon next Friday, which is Friday the 7th of November. It's November, yeah. Friday 7th of November. And we will be doing a live stream there, talking to some interesting people, actually, from Suffolk Technologies. Suffolk Construction. I think Pomelo as well, if that's how you pronounce it, and a few others about AI, data infrastructure, as well as speaking to some of the team from Speckle and what they are building over there. So you can tune in to that from 12 p.m. UK time next Friday. Looking forward to seeing you all there. So let's get into this. Martin, what's new in your side of the world?
Nothing really. All steady and well.
I'm glad to hear it. Okay, Alan, tell us about the Series B, man. Congrats.
Yeah, so this is something that we've been holding on to for a little bit, and we've finally announced, was it a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago on Bloomberg? We gave them the exclusive on the 17th. Actually, Suffolk is one of the investors. The round was led by Caphorn, which is a French fund, part of a bigger group called Anaxago. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it right, but and I will be told off later. We've got participation from Suffolk. We've got participation from Chevron. Sorry, I should say Chevron Technology Ventures, because otherwise I'm going to get told off again. And follow on from existing investors, Pentech and GV.
Very cool. Where are you spending this money?
Lambos, man. Lambos all the way down. No, it's mostly going to be spent on
new mic.
Hey, if they call you, it's not because you pronounce the names wrong after this episode.
No, of course. It's going to be spent on mostly US expansion and doing more research. So we've been heavily investing 4 years into building different types of models, different types of capability, expanding our platform. That's where Schedule Studio came out of last year, and we're just going to double down on that. And so Nerd is going to be taking some of that benefit, as well as our US and international expansion.
Why are you focusing on US, not Europe?
Well, for the most part, because we feel like we've got Europe under control in a sense. Not in the sense that we've exhausted the market, right? Europe is a huge market, but where we do have the biggest opportunity for growth is the US market right now.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. What's new in the like technologies you are developing? Is it because I know you had a big launch of, was it Barry?
So Barry,
last year?
Barry's been around for a few years, right? Like that was what, 2023-ish. And Barry's been evolving over time, right? Barry's one of those agents that does things for you sometimes before you need to get something done. But it's all been about expanding the capabilities of that agent. Schedule Studio is the latest launch that we've done, which is schedule generation from scratch. So you start with nothing, right? You pre-investment decision, you have a design, you have maybe a contract, throw it in, start designing the schedule. And it's all about basically bringing the experience of vibe coding to scheduling, in a sense, with all the good things and none of the bad things.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that the reason why we've been researching generative scheduling and building models that can generate schedules, I'll tell you a nice story about building models that came out of this as well. But the reason why we've been doing this is because it is a fundamental part of the project process. So if you are forecasting the outcomes of the project and you're doing reporting and you have to come up with decisions on how to make your project better and how to prevent bad outcomes, delays, whatever it might be, one fundamental part of closing that loop is then editing the schedule and making changes, right? It's not the only thing, right? You issue documents, you issue changes, all sorts of things. But one thing that we've noticed is that inevitably, whether the change is hypothetical / exploratory or actual real implementation of a change, you actually want to see what the change in schedule looks like. And if it's hypothetical, usually people don't bother doing it. So you don't have a realistic measurement of what that change would look like. And so we built the generative scheduling models primarily for that reason. So reintegrating Schedule Studio into the rest of the platform so that if you're doing your typically monthly cycle on a project and you want to issue some changes, look at some scenarios, some hypotheticals, you actually then have a change to schedule to match. That was the primary reason. The fun story attached to this is that in developing the models that we needed to develop to generate schedules from scratch and to generate graphs specifically, we ended up accidentally solving a completely different problem in generating molecules. We published that.
Wait, what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna go deep into that a little bit. But like,
okay,
we published this at MSML in Naples in September, which is a machine learning conference. What we've done is we created a new type of architecture for generative models that can take an input of functional description of what you want something to do, and the output is a graph. So for us, a schedule is a graph, right? It's lots of nodes connected with all the different connections. And we obviously couldn't publish our data set. So we tried it with some public domain data sets. There's knowledge graphs, there's all sorts of other things. But the one that we actually beat state of the art on is generating molecules that perform certain functions. So normally molecule generation would be of the type of describing the form of the molecule. So I want a molecule with like 3 valence atoms, etc., etc. And we switched it so that you can generate molecules by describing what function you want them to have. So I want a molecule that behaves like aspirin, for example. And I know nothing about biology. I know nothing about molecules. Have probably, if you gave me a chemistry test, I'd get negative marks. And so that's where like my knowledge ends. Like the nerd team, fortunately, they explored it a little bit better and they understood the data set. But none of us are actually experts in this, but we got state-of-the-art results on these data sets, which I find extremely exciting. It was just completely serendipitous. And so for a moment, we did even consider, should we spin out a company to actually solve this problem? The reality is that none of us know enough, so we just published it.
Oh, I
think you're gonna have to dumb this down for me. I'm a little bit out of my technical depth here.
So am I, to be honest, but I think it's hard. Like if you're talking about like creating new types of molecules, I think it's gonna be hard to dumb it down in the sense of like you basically have with this type of model, you can just say, I want a molecule that does X rather than a molecule that looks like X.
Are we still talking about agents, or that's different conversation?
No. This is just generative model.
Oh, about models. So what's so you said that you are developing models. Yeah. Majority of companies in construction tech, would they be generating their own models, or they would be working on models that are publicly available? Like, and why do you develop your own?
So it really depends on the task and the context, right? So like if you want to develop a language model to answer generic questions, don't. There's already way too many. But if you have a task that needs to be solved, you can actually quite easily train a model to solve that task if it is tractable, right? So you just need the data set. That is just standard machine learning where you say, so for example, we trained a model to basically forecast whether a link is going to exist in a future version of the schedule. And that is actually quite simple to think about, right? Like you have your original schedule, you see what it looks like over all the different evolutions, and we can tell you, well, this link is actually going to go away, or it's not going to be there. But those are the kinds of things that you have to train a model for. And if you're just doing text, you really shouldn't. And then there's like the in-between. So the in-between stuff for us is things like agentic behavior. So agentic behavior within Barry, for example, is actually very complex. When we end up with like the models that generate workflows inside Barry will have workflows that sometimes have like 10, 20, 30 different functions that they're doing before they come up with an answer. And for that, we found that the vanilla models just really don't understand how to do a workflow beyond 2-3 actions. So we had to train our own. Those are the in-between, but they're also like the hardest version of the in-between, because you have to then evaluate, right? If you're training a model, you have to evaluate how well does it do on this kind of stuff. So how does it, in a sense, achieve a target that is already loosely defined without making mistakes that might look like they're not mistakes? And so we actually invest a lot in both automatic evaluations, so the kind of stuff that would be done by an OpenAI or an Anthropic evals team, but also manual evaluations every once in a while where our customer success and our product management teams just go and look at what was done.
So companies like Anton, would you say that you guys compete on, when you develop your own model, you compete on the quality of the model? And how defensible is your model that you spend so much time and resources on?
Yeah, in terms of defensible, I think it's an interesting question, right? Because defensibility for a lot of businesses has been a difficult a difficult thing to claim recently. But I think our biggest moat is and will still be our data set plus our research, so that we can do things. We have models that can do things that nobody else can do, but also they can do them with so much context and so much information about how things generally get done, because of the amount of data that we've collected over time. Either externally contracted consultant that says I'll come and build you a model, or internal team won't be able to have. Right? So I think there's no one would be able to claim that they have models that can cover data centers, vertical build, infrastructure, energy, nuclear, defense, and space projects.
Because they don't have data.
Very cool. Okay. Patrick, you said you want to say something.
Thanks, Owen. I was waiting for that. Yes. Alan, I'm actually fascinated. I'm currently speaking with a few founders that come from a more traditional long-term career in machine learning, as have you. And I wonder, are we going to see a renaissance of actually you solve a lot of the either knowledge problems or design problems within construction with knowledge graphs and some of the very fundamental machine learning techniques over, okay, here's this LLM thing. It's adjacent, it sits across it. Are we going to go back to the roots in terms of machine learning to solve a lot of the issues? How do you think of that? And I'm only asking because I'm currently speaking to a few founders that actually have like 25 years, 20, 15, 12 years of machine learning backgrounds.
What I'm seeing, even in terms of research that's getting published right now, and so this was actually a very hot topic at ICML in July, and I'm seeing a lot of papers at NeurIPS, which is literally in a month and a half, and I need to book my flights. I keep forgetting, but is a convergence. So knowledge graphs plus LLMs plus other sorts of methods, and like graph methods are actually very important within this. Where you can have parcels of language forming part of a graph. And we've actually been incredibly lucky to have been in the middle of this type of problem for 8 years, because that's exactly what a schedule is, right? You have parcels of language-based information that is embedded in parts of a graph. That, in a sense, is already a knowledge graph. But the language part is also important, right? Because that defines what the color or profile of each component is and the interaction. So it's no longer just about network science. It's no longer just about language. And it's no longer just about knowledge graphs, right? Where knowledge graphs, a lot of the time, traditionally tend to focus on what things move to where, rather than what is the actual content of the thing and how different is it from its neighbor. And I think there's going to be a big convergence. So, and this is actually what we ended up publishing in September, was a model that combines graph neural nets and LLMs to achieve, for us, it was to achieve graph generation. But there's all sorts of different applications from this convergence. So I think there's going to be a lot of ML researchers that have been like very deeply vertically focused on one thing, having to start looking like bringing other components in. And this is where I used to work in a place that shuffled people around because they said all the best things come from the fringes. And I think this is where one of the things that's going to happen in the next year or two in machine learning is going to be this.
Very cool. What's happening, Alan, in the mind of you about the general narrative on AI at the moment? Maybe I can share a story which I found whilst trying to think of some topics for today. So in Greece, a woman obsessed with fortune telling asked ChatGPT to read her husband's coffee cup patterns. Anyone heard this one?
No.
Not exactly my type of reading.
But I've got the popcorn out.
The AI obligingly invented a dramatic prophecy. It told her that her husband was secretly in love with a woman whose name starts with E and he had been unfaithful multiple times. Enraged by this AI hallucination, the woman immediately filed for divorce, throwing away a 12-year marriage and igniting a legal and family fiasco. Lawyers had to explain that AI's reading has zero credibility and they're scrambling to stop the proceedings.
Yeah, but then what you're dealing with here is not issue of technology, it's issue of the human.
I'm gonna let Martin speak. I'm gonna let Martin go.
Yes, well, very well put, Martin. You tried to say that very politely, but your like punchline failed.
I mean, would it have been any different if she went to the other clairvoyant on the other side of town?
Probably not.
And would we even, like in AI, would we call that hallucination? We asked the AI to make up a story, right? If I ask ChatGPT to make up a bedtime story for my son based on wizards and dragons, it's going to make up probably a very good one, better than I could write for sure. But then I'm not going to get angry that I look outside and the wizards and dragons are not flying about.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't, no?
Well, you should. Yeah, sure, right?
I mean,
There's like very big, and I'm sorry for any clairvoyants in the audience if there are any, but
I doubt it.
you know, clairvoyancy is human hallucination.
exactly.
Mm.
And then people choose to believe it.
What's going on in the AI skeptical mind of Alan?
What's going on in my AI in the skeptical mind? So I mean, I'm excited about a lot of things, but usual skepticisms are around those times when people slap AI onto something and say, hey, look, we solved all your problems. And there's quite a few incumbent companies that are doing this kind of stuff, right?
Mm.
And it's hard because, especially in construction tech, right? Like incumbents hold the market, and they hold it through the basically having their fingers and their nails deeply rooted into the procurement. And that's probably not a great characterization of what this is, but you know, if you look at the retention of various different software vendors that have been around for 10 plus years, a lot of it is inertia. And so, and actually, you know, you can look outside construction tech, right? When Salesforce starts slapping agents on with no clear strategy or
see something about this
deep
recently.
thought about anything, right? And so, like, the lazy thing to do, which so many are doing right now, is basically the 2025 equivalent of in 2023, you wake up and you have a little chat box now. It's like, oh, now it's AI powered, right? And so you put like your little chat bot in the bottom right corner, and it just tells you 5 things out of the user manual. And now the new one is, well, I will generate some UI for it, right? Because we've discovered coding models that can write pretty good code, and it is very easy to then generate some interactive chart. And the problem is still always the same, which is it's not what you see, but it's what's behind it, right? And so it is actually kind of equivalent, I guess, to the clairvoyant in a sense, where I could go and generate a dashboard of whatever I like in Claude, and you know, Anthropic and OpenAI, this is their job, right? Their job is to provide you with the base model that then you go and build stuff on. So they're not wrong in doing this. But when I then go to look at a provider that says, oh, now you can generate any app within my ecosystem, and then what it's actually,
Lovable, for example, right? You're talking about Lovable?
I am not. I'm probably more talking about Helix. Let's go generate anything, and then you look at it and you're like, oh, we now have these agent workflows, and really what it's doing is calling a couple of tools, and you're like, you're misleading a large part of the population into thinking that what you've done is cutting edge because it smells like it.
Yeah, but that's the error of marketing and bullshit. It's not an error of a technology, I think.
It's not an error.
We've moved quite a lot, having these. You can build something which is perhaps simple, which kind of has legs, but obviously it doesn't work fully because it's not so simple to build an app or a platform just using vibe coding. But I think the progress is absolutely positive and very, very good. Obviously, marketing is way off the charts and doesn't make sense, and that's the problem. I think.
Yeah. That's another way of saying what I'm saying, right? The marketing of it is absolutely misleading, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to pick a different one instead of Procore right now. Like I saw a video from Kahua where someone speaks into an iPad, like, look, I've generated an app now that can do all, I think it was about takeoffs or something, I'm not sure. It can do all of this. And I'm like, does that actually really solve the problem? Or have you done a thing that looks good for 5 seconds and then you're going to end up with 9,000 single use 5-minute job applications within an organization and nobody's going to know where anything is anymore, and actually nobody solved anything, but everybody's trying to look good. And basically what we're doing, and I hate to say it this way, but we're basically creating Instagram in B2B.
Wow.
Where everybody wants to be an influencer, and now everybody wants to have their own app. And I'm like, yeah, I just focus on solving the problem well.
Yeah.
That's a great product idea. Build the Instagram for B2B.
I mean, Instagram for B2B is also just LinkedIn, but the Instagram problem of like everybody's one-man banding within a company, right? So like now that at some point, like everybody's vibe coded their own little thing, nobody's talking to each other, you don't know where anything is, and you've lost the most important part of having a platform or anything, which is interconnection, especially within industries like construction that entirely depend on doing that well.
I'm really sure. I'm only guessing that 2 or 3 years from now, this vibe coding will be something. Maybe not in the sense of calling it vibe coding. It will be something else, but it will be way better.
Yeah, it will be, right? But like the risk that it poses then to construction tech startups, which is what we care about, is
what's the risk?
Well, is that then you have your, I don't know, innovation person or procurement person or whatever at potential customer saying, oh, but I don't need this anymore because I can build this app in Helix.
I don't think this will happen this way.
I hope not, right?
The risk of delivering something wrong is just too big for anyone within to kind of do it on a scale that it works, I'll guess.
Yeah, and the other thing that like really frustrates me is like actually this is what is going to, I think, kill off most agents, is the lack of evals. So we invest a ton in evals, as I've said, but there are so many companies that are just putting together agents to do things without properly evaluating what's being done, to the point that if you upgrade the models that are powering the agent, you don't know if you've improved the situation or made it worse. And that is actually kind of concerning, right? Because then you could have entire systems that start to rely on how well these agents perform. And all of a sudden you switch something, or you change something in your data model, or something goes sideways, and you don't know how it's gotten worse or if it's gotten worse. That's terrifying to me.
So the risk is on the enterprise level, right? When the platform or app doesn't perform because people change certain things on the enterprise, right, level. That's what you're saying?
I'm more saying that, like, in the development of the agent, there's not enough evaluation of just like how well is it doing the task. Like formal evaluation, so you can actually track. Well, if I take, let's say, like, I'll talk about M-Plan because I know how we do this, but
Nitin's in a lobby, by the way, Alan. So
okay, we'll let him in a second. But if I take all the interactions and all the work that Barry has done over the last 2.5 years, almost 3, I can then reevaluate it with model changes, stack changes, and even data changes to see, would it be better to have had our new version of the model for tool calling, or like when we use a variety of different front-end models, which like we'd have no interest in generating a foundation model to generate things in English. So in some cases, there are places where we call the GPT OpenAI API or Claude API or Gemini, right? And switching those around, you can tell, like, would it be better? Would it be worse? And you have a formal evaluation of different sets of criteria, right? So like evaluations are important and there's not enough people doing it. And that is actually dangerous.
But okay, just let Nitin in.
Yeah. Sorry.
Nitin, what's going on? You have a
Hey,
new
Owen,
hat
how are
this
you?
time.
I do. I have a few to choose from, so I just feel like.
Wait, you and Alan are not competitors, right? I realize we have two scheduling founders on the call right now.
Well, we can still have a good chat. Hi, Alan.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're competitors. Hi,
I don't think so either. I think we're scheduling. I think Alan is more sort of like analytics and insights and stuff like that. But how do you see that, Alan?
Yeah, no, I don't see us as competitors at all.
It's official.
I'm glad. And now you are friends. So let's do
Always
this.
have been.
Nitin, last time I saw you, you were wandering around an event. I think you are another event. How's life on the road?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm not in an event right now. We're at our leadership offsite trying to do 2026 planning, and
Nice.
in beautiful Half Moon Bay. And yeah, things are good. Things have gone really well this year, and we're trying to figure out how to continue to grow next year.
Nice. What's it the 2026? Can you share anything from the 2026 roadmap?
I think what we previewed at Groundbreak was our AI assistant, our scheduling assistant, and that's going to be a big part of the push in 2026. What it does is it lets people with all different types of scheduling acumen be able to query the schedule in natural language, and then also do some what-if analysis in natural language, so they can make good decisions for the project in real time, right? And so that's really going to be very important for us, and that's going to be a big focus for us next year.
Awesome, nice.
There's going to be more stuff coming, but I'm sure you'll have me again on the pod to talk about that.
Yeah, man, we love talking to you. One quick thing before I let the others chime in here, but you announced just 2 weeks ago this $8 million round for specifically for data center construction market, right? How accurate is that? Like, is this specifically just to build the technology around data centers? Like, can you explain that?
Well, I mean, in honesty, the technology used to build data center is the same to the technology that's used to build any large project, right? The funding is more a response to the massive growth we've seen in our mission critical work, in the data center work. It's also going to be used to build out a sort of a data center center of excellence, so to speak, right? Like, how do you best build schedules and then manage jobs in data centers? And for our data center and mission critical people, we're also sort of like a highly used term, but I'll use it anyways, like a forward deployed engineer kind of an offering where we can actually have a fully Planera trained and certified industry expert embedded in their teams, because they're just like every day so important. They might want to learn Planera over 3 to 6 months, but they want results from day one, right? And so we have actually embedded engineers now in our data center projects, if customers choose to do that.
Very cool. Okay, Patrick, Martin.
Nitin, tell us more about what the software does, because I think you have a unique take on how scheduling could be done in the browser and collaboratively. So I think it could be super interesting for everyone to learn the solution better.
Yeah, for sure. And Patrick, I think you're doing something similar at Fundamental as well, right? Which is moving things into the browser and collaborative. And so our unique take is that we feel like scheduling needs to be collaborative. It's a team sport. It's not a single player thing, right? And it's been a single player experience for way too long. And so let's make it collaborative. Let's make it approachable to the project teams, right? And so we love schedulers, and schedulers love Planera, but also the rest of the project team needs to be able to actualize their thoughts into like schedule, and so make it easy. But the third thing is keep it powerful, right? So don't dumb it down. I think there have been attempts in the past to make scheduling easier, but then they also make it very basic, meaning like it doesn't have all the power that complex projects need to run a good schedule, right? And so we're trying to sort of like keep the power of P6, but make it very approachable, multiplayer, and in the browser.
How are you? Sorry, go on, Patrick.
Yeah, so just one follow-up, Nitin. So am I, when I'm a Planera user, would I typically have my P6 instance still, or is the idea that I abandon it?
It could be both, right? So initially, what you do, what many customers do, is they have their P6 instance, but then if you have a schedule already, we can import it. So we speak both XCR and XML very well, both in and out, right? And so that is like the fundamental of this industry is P6 that are like the file format, right? Then they start building the schedule, progressing the schedule, do more and more workflows inside Planera. And then if they need to export a P6 file, they can do that for owner submittal or maybe running some other workflows, right? There's many products. Almost all of us speak the P6 language, right? And so P6 becomes it's almost like the PDF, right? PDF is both the file format and Acrobat, the product. Almost nobody interacts with PDF using Acrobat, right? They all interact with Bluebeam or this or that, whatever, right? So think of P6 the same way, right? P6 is both a file format, which we speak very well, and P6 is the product, which we sometimes complement and then over time replace.
Got it.
Oh, Nitin, I wanted to ask, what's your AI strategy within Planera?
AI is going to be very important, but we also need to make sure we do it very carefully and we do it right. As you know, AI is great for creatives. Sometimes hallucination can be a feature in creative world. But we're in 100% business, right? Like scheduling is not about getting things 99% right? We're in 100% kind of a business. So we've taken a lot of time to build AI in a way that it does what it is good at, maybe logical reasoning, but we give it the superpower to like do mathematical operations and scheduling related operations extremely well, right? Because if we launch something that is not 100% accurate, we wouldn't be proud of it, and customers would not be happy. So that's number one. What it will do is, I said, is first thing you can query a schedule, right? It's very hard to understand a very complicated schedule for people in the field, maybe even people in the office. Takes a long time, right? And so you could just query the schedule for all sorts of things, right? Hey, what are my critical path activities next month? When are my next 3 concrete pours happening? And then you can also do more advanced queries like, hey, what if I couldn't pour on Thursday? And what if I pour on Saturday? How will that impact downstream work and things of that nature, right? So these are all things you could go in the schedule and do it manually, and it'll just take you a lot of time, and you have to be an expert, or you can just natural language talk to the schedule. And that's our AI strategy.
Okay, what
Alan,
about...
do you have one?
Yeah,
Go on.
I had a question about your thesis about collaborative planning. I couldn't agree more. One thing that worries me though a little bit is that I'm gonna try and tread carefully, but if we look at companies that tried doing this before, I can only think of one, which is Basis. And I hope I'm not seen as ungenerous, but they don't seem to have done too well at changing the way of doing things. I'm pretty sure that Dan Patterson made some money in selling the company, but so, you know, from certain aspects, they probably did very well. But from a changing it to let's actually make scheduling collaborative, as I agree with you, as it should be. So I guess, like, what lessons are there to learn from Basis, if any, and how are you going to do it differently so that everybody does come
Can you
and
just
join
give
the...
some context what Basis was?
Yeah, so Basis was this attempt at collaborative scheduling where it was kind of like halfway between using recipes in the same way that you had Alice do it, but then people could comment on each other's bits of the schedule, and it was all in browser as well, but this was like a while ago. This was, I want to say, 6-7 years ago. And then it got sold to Innate. I think it probably still exists. I have not seen it out in the wild for a very long time. But the mission was to make scheduling collaborative, right? And they even, for a while, they had this slogan that it's like, it's not about AI, it's about HI, which is human intelligence. And I'm like, it got a little bit weird. But yeah, I'm sure that there are some lessons in there about like what they tried to do to convince everyone to make scheduling collaborative and why didn't it work.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't studied Basis in detail, but I mean, the thing is, there's no bad ideas. There's just bad timing, right? Like, so timing is important. I think what we are seeing is at least the customers that we gravitate towards Planera are already doing collaborative scheduling. They already want their trade partners to come and help them build a better schedule. They're just doing it analog, right? They're just doing it on a whiteboard. It's a data, or they're using another tool that is yet another data silo, right? And when data doesn't flow properly, you can't make good business decisions, right? And so our approach has been that we're going to do the master schedule, but we'll also take a slice of it. You'll also be able to do level 4 levels of detail. You can also then do level 5 levels of detail, right? And so you can also do your 3-week, 4-week look ahead. And at different levels, different people need to collaborate. And collaborate is more than just commenting, right? Like it's more building a schedule together. And so if you're doing a master schedule, it's a different set of personas that are collaborating versus if you're in the field doing a 3-4 week look ahead. It's a different set of people collaborating, right? We have permissions and roles built into the platform. And then the beauty is that it's all connected, right? And so what's happening in the field, you get real-time visibility, but you also get full control, right? So you might want that to be reflected in the master right away. You may not want that to be reflected, but at all times, data flows seamlessly and you have full visibility and control. So I think this isn't something that isn't happening in the industry already, right? It's just happening very poorly, right? And we're just trying to make it integrated platform and modern UI in the browser that everyone can use. And by the way, for the field, iPad as well. So we launched our iPad experience like, maybe 4 months ago. And now trade partners that maybe have only iPad as the standard issue in the trailer can also participate in pull planning. They do field walks, they do update the activity status using an iPad. So we have a lot more to do in that space, but that's been a pretty well accepted, well received thing in the field.
All right, guys, we've got time for one very last quick question for Nitin, if you want to go. If not, I've got one.
I wouldn't have a short one, so go for it.
Oh, it's just a quick one. Well, actually, maybe it's not, but I will do it anyway. Yeah, so I think we've seen quite a lot of funding in this space recently, like scheduling, planning, project controls. You obviously, Alan's here, Plan, Series B. You guys, it's 8 million. I think it brings your total funding to now 26.5 million. We had Nodes and Links earlier this year. I think it was $10 million Series B. Why? Why do you think this is? Where's the excitement coming from?
I have My hypothesis is that there's been a lot of investment in documents, project management, all of those tools. They've largely been modernized. And I think customers are now actually seeing good positive ROI of using modern software solutions in those spaces, right? And so it's just a natural next step is what else hasn't been modernized, right? Like uh, it's almost like unbundling of the P6 enterprise stack in a way, right? That's like the last thing that hasn't been full not to say that other things cannot keep getting better, but this is like clearly decades behind, right? And so anybody who's like unbundling that is exciting to venture because it's a big prize at the end of it if people get it right.
Very cool. Nitin, thank you so much.
And congrats
Looking
on the
forward to
rise.
continuing to following you
Great.
guys' journey. It's always exciting.
Great, always good to be on this pod and good to meet the new people here.
Best of luck, Nathan.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Okay, next up we have Prakash. Hey, Prakash.
Hey, Prakash.
We need some like lobby music.
Elevator.
Hey, here he
Biggest
is.
signal is blocked.
Hello, hello.
How's it going, Prakash?
How's it going? I'm well, thank you. How are you all?
Are you dialing in from the where are you in? Are you in Saudi, UAE?
No, Dubai. Yeah, UAE.
Okay, cool. And how's the weather there this time of year? It's a good time to visit, no?
It is absolutely. It's starting to cool down. So we're entering our winter in inverted commas.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Okay, what is going on at Navitek? What's new with you guys? I think that you were in well, you prompted this discussion because we're going to be talking about accelerators and also what's going on in that part of the world. But yeah, what's going on with you?
Oh, I think there's too much going on at the moment. Yeah, like I call it growing pains. I think Alan, you'll probably kind of relate to it. So we're at this stage where you've got a certain size team and your infrastructure and everything set up, and you're starting to win work, but you don't have the cash from that to be able to hire and increase and stuff like that. So we're in this kind of gray space until we can go to the next stage and go get through this growing pains. So that all of that's kind of happening. We're
Are you saying you're raising money?
We're always raising money. Raising money is really hard. No, I think we've kind of put that on the back burner a little bit. It takes up way too much time, and it's a massive distraction from business and doing sales and stuff like that. So we've kind of made the strategic decision to kind of pause on raising money and basically get the best type of capital you can, which is customer money, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The real cash
Very
flow.
cool.
Trying to. That's the plan. But no, so there's all of that going, and then we're trying to decipher what's happening in the context AI agentic space, right? Like everyone's bringing out their agent builders and like doing stuff, and we're constantly getting asked, like, or does this piece of AI now make you obsolete? Does this piece of AI make you obsolete? And it's like no. The simple answer is no, right? There's more to what we do than just the AI. It's I think we're getting to a stage where AI is going to become like the internet, right? Like you don't tell people that my app runs on the internet. That's obvious, it does, right? You're going to get to a stage where your app has AI. Yeah, that's obvious, right? Like, what are you doing with it, right? What's the outcome? What's the problem you're solving? What's this? What are you solving for your customers? And it doesn't matter that it's AI or it's an algorithm or it's a dashboard or whatever it is, right? And so I think very soon we're going to hopefully start seeing people stop using AI for everything.
Prakash, just to give people context out listening, could you tell us about your product?
Yeah, so I guess the messaging has kind of been refined down to what we do is we manage that last mile communication between the workforce and systems. We are currently and have historically been focused on safety, but we're expanding now into quality, into environment, into progress tracking. So what we're doing essentially is instead of using AI on the back end to kind of analyze data or generate data, we're using it to break down the communication barriers that exist and get a large quantity of quality data into the system. That, for me, that's the problem that we're solving, right? So it doesn't matter what the system is, a form-based system or a picture-based system, whatever. Getting quality data into the system is paramount. And so we're using AI agents through conversational interfaces, using multiple different languages, using multiple different mediums to capture and disseminate information to the workers right where they are, right? And so we've got our own app, which has got a conversational interface. We integrate into WhatsApp, into Teams, into WeChat. We'll do Slack if people want us to do it. But all of that gets centralized in our platform, and then we can make data-driven decisions and do the AI stuff that lots of other people are doing.
Prakash,
could you just give us just one thing, sorry, mine. Can you just give us a practical example of how that might work? Like, would someone be? Go on, you go for it.
I won't butcher it. Right. So if we're communicating to the workforce, so let's take health and safety, right? Because that's the thing I love talking about. It's something I'm really passionate about. So health and safety documentation is usually 150 pages long, typically written in English, in language that nobody on site speaks, right? It's just sign here, and then it's an arse covering exercise. It's wholly inadequate for helping people manage risk. So what we do is we take that documentation and then we basically we historically did retrieval augmented generation on it, but we're starting to use different technology now. But we take that, train our already fine-tuned AI, which understands health and safety really well, and then make that available to people through a conversational interface, so they can ask questions of this documentation in a language, and by language I mean the actual language, so Hindi, Bengali, Arabic, Urdu, Malayalam, Polish, Romanian, whatever it is, but also in the types of words that they would use on a construction site. So language is not just the language you speak, it's the type of words that you use to communicate. And so we allow people to do that by typing and like you do in ChatGPT, but also via voice and also through pictures. So you can take a picture, so you say, what risks do you see here? How do I mitigate them? And it will give you answers in whichever language you want. You can do that via voice as well. So that's one element, getting the right information to the right people at the right time. And then we use agents to collect information. So nobody likes filling out forms, but the way that we've observed people working is they'll take a picture, write a little bit of a paragraph, send it to someone and say, go and sort this out. Barrier missing around an excavation. Take a picture. It is in zone 1. Someone go and fix it. Now, if that's happening 20 times in a WhatsApp group, for example, unless someone is tracking it, you don't know that this is a systemic issue, right? So what we do is we sit our AI agents inside this WhatsApp group. It automatically captures and structures this information, sucks it into our platform, and then we can start, generating useful information around this, useful insights around the data. We call it shadow data. So it's data that is already in your organization, but it's in the shadows. It's in WhatsApp groups. It's in Teams chats. It's in other kind of informal channels. And unless someone wastes a lot of time copying this information into a more formal system, even an Excel spreadsheet, you can't do anything with it.
What about further learning? Once you collect this data, people will go and put this barrier back, and what else can be done for the project, maybe for the business, to make this safety aspect not repeatable?
Yeah, so learning is a big part of it, right? So when there's two things that we do. So once we've spotted, or someone spotted something that's maybe not quite right, and we also spot things that are good, but if something's not quite right, at that point where they're raising that, we also suggest how to fix it. And the suggestion comes from two things. It comes from that set of health and safety documentation that we've already trained it in, but also comes from historical fixes. So if someone's fixed this type of problem before, we can suggest that fix for this problem. So we're being really proactive in suggesting how to mitigate things.
Got it. And I also wanted to ask, who is your target customer in terms of size of the business?
So really interesting. So historically, we've kind of gone after the giga and mega projects in the region. So the big projects, and we've been fairly successful, I guess, at doing that. But through that learning, we've realized that we've developed probably and it might sound arrogant, but best in class kind of a way of capturing things, right? And categorizing them and structuring them. So what we've done is we've distilled that down into a light product, and so we call it Navatech AI Lite, NI Lite. And so we're now starting to work with smaller and medium-sized contractors and construction companies to help them, right? And we're also finding that the sales cycles with them are much shorter, right? The decision-making process is a lot smaller than obviously going to a PIF project, which has got a strict procurement process and sometimes takes 20 months to kind of land those.
Guys, I wanted to shift
Patrick
gears
or
slightly.
Alan, do you have one?
Yeah. Thanks for tagging me in. So first of all, like I'm a big fan.
Just hijacks the conversation.
I'm sorry.
So you have to go.
I'm a very big fan of, which I think is
AI.
one of the things that you're doing really well.
Sorry.
Keep going, Alan. Don't let him distract you. You'll get
What is he
used to
doing? Sorry. Which is like something that you guys do really well, and it's something that we had to do as well, in the sense of, if you want, there's this metaphor which comes from a book which I never remember the name of, but I always use the metaphor, and I should really learn to remember the title of the book. But if you want someone to go to get on your bus, you need to go to their bus stop, right?
100%.
And there's no industry where it's more true than construction. So, it used to be said as a joke, but like 90% of construction communication happens on WhatsApp. And like, that is just information that disappears.
Yeah. And
because
so I half jokingly tell people that the most successful construction technology in the world is WhatsApp. It's the most adopted, most ubiquitous construction technology in the world, right? And one of our customers taught us this, actually, right? So they were about to switch WhatsApp off. Because he said there's two things. There was two reasons why he was going to switch WhatsApp off on his projects. One was a lack of transparency. They couldn't see what was happening as an organization on these things, and it was just a stream. It was unstructured data. And they said to me, your solution fixes both of those problems. So they stopped the ban. They basically implemented us and stopped the ban of WhatsApp on there. Now, there are still, certain cybersecurity concerns and data concerns and privacy concerns and that, but they can also be solved through the settings on your WhatsApp groups, right? You can put disappearing messages on, you can put restrictions on who can automatically download stuff. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do. But also, we don't want to become wholly reliant on WhatsApp either. I think, to your point about meeting your customers where they are, meeting our the riders of our bus at their bus stop, it's also just giving them a choice, right? It's not forcing them to do one thing or another, or forcing them to do one process or another. They're already doing this, right? They're already sending this. If, like, as an example, if I ask you to take a picture of something and send it to a group of people, the first thing you're going to think about doing is taking a picture on your phone and then putting it on a WhatsApp group and sending it to people, right? It's just a natural inclination. Why are we asking people to do anything different when we're asking them to capture information from construction sites, right? So it's kind of like, let's work with the people, see the people as a solution rather than see them as a problem.
Yeah, and I've had, and I don't know where you see this going, and this is probably where my question is, but I've had this thought that, if you go all the way to the site, people are not logging into stuff. And if you go all the way to the top, to the CEOs, they're also not logging into stuff. Or to even the project directors, right? They're just getting on the phone and shouting at people.
Yeah.
So within that context, which I think is like, it's not unique, right? This is not the only industry that behaves like this.
No.
What do you think the future of software is going to look like now that we know? Well, we've always known this, right? But like, what's that going to do first to the future of software? But I also want to maybe, like, if we can fantasize about the future of company structures as a result. Because I have a theory, but I want to see what you think.
all right, I'm going to break this down into two things, right? So I think the future of software and how we interact with software changed in November 2022 when OpenAI put a chat interface in front of ChatGPT, right? So this idea of putting a chat interface on top of safety management systems, I came up with this idea 7 years ago, right? Like this was something that it was chatbots at the time. This is what we were doing. It's now become agentic, but that's what changed the game. So GPTs have been around for a long, long time. We were on the beta for GPT-2 and we were playing around with it. It came into the public consciousness when it became easy to access. And that ease of access came when they put a chat interface on front of GPT 3.5, I think it was at the time, right? And so I think going forward, it's going to be these natural conversational, but more natural ways of interacting. So I think I'm really, really bullish about the smart glasses. I think what's happening in that space right now, using your voice, using the cameras that sit on it, is going to completely radicalize the way that we get information into systems. I think that's going to make a massive, massive change. It's as big a change as mobile phones on construction sites, I think, right? If we can get the hardware right and get it reliable and all of that stuff, which I think is just a matter of time. And then to your second point, which I forgot now where it was.
What's it going to do to the structure of the companies?
The structure of the companies, yeah. So recently, I've been having so many conversations about people wanting to set up project management consultancies that are not hiring people, but are using agents to do certain elements of work, and then therefore not charging time and materials, but charging on outcomes, right? So charging on the reduction of risk, the lack of RFIs, the lack of change orders, etc. Right? Completely changing the way. So not only changing the structure of the company through the mix of people and technology, but also changing the contractual mechanisms that govern the relationships between different entities.
Is there any successful example of that one?
Not yet. But there's people trying though. I've met 4 startups, 3.5 startups, let's call it, right? That are working on this, but at different stages. So I've seen people doing it at the pre-construction stage. I've seen people doing it at the kind of BOQ level. I'm seeing people doing it post-contract or just before award. So I'm seeing elements of people doing it, and like N-Plan are doing something like this, but with the scheduling. So I think pieces of the puzzle are there. No one's put it all together. Let's see if it can be done and it can happen. But there's certainly, I think, elements of it are starting to happen.
I think the more people change, the culture changes, and that's how you get real change. Adam, what do you think?
Wait, so should we go to Patrick? Do you have anything on Navatech or this space or anything? And then I think we should go to accelerators as well, because Prakash, you've been on. I think you mentioned 5.
So to jump in, I just want to signpost something which I feel is very, very important, because just Prakash, you said something about companies trying to charge for reduction in risk. I would feel irresponsible if I didn't say this. We tried to do this in 2018 and 2019. It doesn't work. Because risk is ephemeral in the sense that then you get arguments back to like, oh, but that risk wasn't there.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you haven't actually reduced it, and like we ended up in a lot of conversations of that kind. So like, what maybe I want to signpost to the audience: if you're thinking about charging for reduction in risk, it is actually practically way harder than you think it's going to be. I would have been irresponsible if I hadn't said that, because we slammed our head hard on
great insight.
I think you just reduced Prakash's risk. You should charge for that.
Yeah. It's I'll send you the IBAN details.
Nice. Prakash, how are you perceiving the business climate within the peninsula?
Right now, it's bullish, really bullish. So obviously, everyone reads the headlines about some of the giga projects that are, hitting realities and kind of redistributing funds and reallocating things and things like that. But if you come to the UAE, for example, just drive around Dubai, every single major road junction is under development.
It has to be, because the traffic is horrible.
There's a high-speed rail link just about to go to tender between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Etihad Rail is introducing passenger terminal. There's 2 metro lines, one extension and another line about to start. The Palm Jebel Ali is about to start, which has got, I don't know, something like 1,200 keys worth of hotels coming up on it. Like the UAE, that's just the UAE I'm talking about. And then what doesn't get the attraction in Saudi is all the I guess mega projects that aren't giga, right? And so, you know, like Neom and some of these get all of the attention, but there's so much happening in Riyadh that's linked to the Expo, it's linked to the World Cup, it's linked to just improving social infrastructure, building houses, building schools, building hospitals. So I'm actually like really bullish about what's happening here. We seem to, you know, have weathered some of the macroeconomic elements around you know, tariffs and some of the stuff that's been happening around the region. You know, hopefully we'll have a peaceful outcome with our with our neighboring countries and stuff. The stuff going on over there. So all of that I think is contributing to yeah, really positive kind of feeling with it, particularly within the construction space.
Very cool. Nice.
What about construction tech? Is there like lots of startups originating there, or it's fairly quiet? What's been going on?
No, there's a lot. So historically, I think Contech or Construtech, I think Patrick likes to call it, but construction technology and prop tech has kind of like fallen under the same umbrella. We're starting to see, you know, the definitions of that start to tear away a little bit. So the UAE government, particularly Dubai government, have created a prop tech council. They're creating a prop tech space, which is a physical like area where you know, prop techs can meet and get licensed and all of that stuff. The Public Investment Fund, the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia, has got, I think, 3 different departments that are focused on construction technology. One of them is looking at how to enable construction technology in the supply chain. One of it is how to enable it through the development companies. And then there's another one that's looking at how do they rationalize it across all of the PIF entities that are doing stuff. So there's a lot of motion. There's a lot of government support, right, for Contech and you know, our kind of sister prop tech.
So do you have a feeling that there's more construction tech happening than like a few years back? Because my feeling was that everyone in the startup ecosystem was pushing for, apart from other things, prop tech, but construction tech, I never could find almost anyone.
We're definitely, it's still not as big as prop tech. Prop tech, if you know, as a broad definition, if we look at prop tech being once a building's finished, and you know, how do you sell it, how do you market it, how do you rent it, how do you operate it efficiently, and then it's got, you know, a whole bunch of, you know, operational sustainability elements to it. I think construction tech is really starting to come to the fore because of the speed at which some of these projects are having to move, right? So there is a lot of pressure to deliver really, really quickly, and the only way you're going to be able to do that with an acceptable level of risk is to start using technology. And this is particularly in Saudi. I'm finding the resistance to adopting new things, or at least trying and testing new things in Saudi, much lower than the UAE. In Saudi, anecdotally, I don't know, I haven't done the studies, and maybe Patrick, we can do something that put some numbers behind this. But anecdotally, I think having a younger population in Saudi, having I think them starting from a low base when it comes to a maturity level within the general construction ecosystem, has meant that they're really hungry to try new things. And so there's an acceptance that, you know, the maturity level is X and they want to get to Y, and the way that they're going to do it is through innovation and technologies. Whereas I think in the UAE, there's a little bit of like, you know, we've been doing this for 20 years. We've been doing it for 25 years. This is we know what our problem is. It's really specific. If you've got a solution that does this thing, we're interested, but we're not looking at broadly, you know, trying new things and seeing what sticks, right? Whereas in Saudi, I think I get this feeling that that's what they're doing, that they're okay to try something and it fails, let's go again. Like that attitude, that between the two, this is just absolutely my opinion, right? This is not Narvatech's opinion. This is not this is Prakash Singani's opinion from my experience working across both.
Yeah, very cool. Prakash, tell us. You were just accepted recently into the Google Startups Accelerator AI First, and you mentioned that you have been involved with 5 of these now, right? Not these specific ones, but
So
accelerators generally. So yeah, tell us how you accelerate at a company at an accelerator.
I think all of them are called accelerators. The rate of acceleration that you get from each one is different, I guess. But look, on the whole, I think they've been really good. Some of them give you non-dilutive funding. We did one in Saudi Arabia with the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, KAUST, and it was called Takadem. And so they gave us $50,000, $40,000, I think, non-dilutive, and then the top 10 of that got an additional $100,000. We didn't win, unfortunately. We didn't get into the top 10, but that was really good. So the general kind of framework for these accelerators is you have to apply. You go, and usually there's thousands of applicants. You go through a vetting process, an interview process, and then you get accepted. Sometimes there's a 2-stage process to actually getting onto the main one. So there's like a pre-selection process, and then you have to pitch, and then you get through to the next round. And so that process in itself kind of gets you really comfortable with talking to people about your business in a really succinct way, in a very direct way, helps you introspect. I think that's the biggest thing about these, right? You're starting to look inwards, which you don't usually stop and do. When you're running your business, is you'll go and constantly looking at external factors and what your clients are telling you to do and what the market's doing and all this stuff. These accelerators give you an opportunity to pause. Often you get mentors, some of them who've been startup founders or are VCs and things like that. And so you get a lot of good advice. One of the downsides to doing lots of accelerators is you get a lot of contradictory advice, right? And some of them literally polar opposite, right? So some like perfect example. Some will say, when you're doing your pitch, you need to put your market sizing on it. And some people will say, no one gives a shit about your market size. Tell them about who you are and who your team is. Right? So you get this really contradict, literally polar opposites. But the Google, you wanted to talk about the Google AI First Accelerator program. So this is the second cohort in the region for an AI First. I think it was the second one, and so it's fully focused on AI companies. And then what Google does, and I've been really impressed with, is it's really intense. So there's like 5 or 6 hours of workshops a week with different members of Google and different expertise, and each week is a different theme, and they kind of help you to understand what's coming, right? So it's a lot of it is cutting edge, what Google's about. Some of it's not even publicly available, right? What Google's about to release and how we can potentially utilize it. Look, it's obviously there for Google to almost like be a shop window, and once you're baked into the ecosystem, you're likely to stay type of thing. But you do get a lot of face time with some really, really good experts. We get access to a lot of amazing technology that's not necessarily publicly available. You get credits towards for cloud infrastructure and things like that. And then we get specific mentors as well, right? So you get with that, like, for example, I had a pricing workshop last week. So it's about strategic pricing and how you can use pricing to do multiple different things. You can use it for attraction. You can use it for retention. You can use it for increasing your staying power and stuff like that. So there's I think these type of things are really useful for early stage companies, especially. So what I found is as we've gone from startup and transitioning towards a scale up, it's probably becoming less and less useful, and some of it's becoming a little bit repetitive. But you always pick up something, right, from them.
Yeah, insightful. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah. And one other thing I just want to add, there's so we did one with called DAR-E. It's with Dar Al Handasa, where they're a consultancy based out of here. I think they're on Curry and Brown as well. So the group Sidara that owns Darl Handelsat. They own Curry and Brown and a whole bunch of stuff. So they had an AEC focused accelerator program, and that was really, really good, right? Because the cohort was all in construction. They were all around the architecture, engineering, and construction space. That was quite unique for this region. All the others are quite generic. Like the Google one is agnostic, sector agnostic. This was specifically an accelerator for the construction. And there's another one about to start in Saudi. It's run by Startup Wise guys. I forgot the name of it. So to Martin, to your point, is Contech, starting to gain traction. If people are running accelerator programs specifically dedicated to our industry, then I think that tells you its own story.
Mm-hmm. Can I have one quick more?
Oh, go on then.
What's your advice on pricing for the startups who are selling or trying to sell to companies in the region?
So this region really, really does not like per user pricing. So you have to find another model. And the reason being is because there's hundreds of people on construction sites here, thousands of people on construction sites, right? So it's not uncommon for you to go to a construction site and see, 4,000 or 5,000 people on the construction site. Obviously, it depends on what your product is and who you're targeting on the project. But even the white collar roles, teams tend to be really, really big to be able to manage the teams on the sites and the pace at which things gets delivered. And so there's this general perception that if you price per user, you're probably not even going to be entertained. And so we kind of have evolved our pricing. I don't think we've still got it right, but currently we're pricing per project per month, and then have got these two kind of bands. We've got this enterprise for the large ones, and then we've got a smaller pricing for the small and medium sized ones.
Mm-hmm. And do you establish it based on the value of the project or differently?
Not yet, no. So that's another one where there's two schools of thought, or there's two camps when it comes to this. So I've worked with people and seen people who are like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, right? It gives you a proxy for the size and scale of a project, and so that's how we can judge the amount of value this piece of software is going to give us. Others are like, right, this means that you're going to take this percentage of my profit margin, right? Like, why do you deserve this much of my profit margin type of thing? And so some people kind of balk at that. So it's really funny that you got these kind of two schools of thought.
But nobody's pricing per risk reduced.
Not yet.
What risk? There's no risk. Like,
not yet.
There's no risk.
Oh yeah, you're right.
When you're signing up for a project, there's no allowance for risk that might happen or might not happen.
There is no risk, correct. So it is price per risk at zero.
Yeah, the problem, going back, you stuck a pin in this, right? Just going back to this for one.
Sorry.
And I think it is going to be difficult. So look, we've been doing safety tech for a long time, right? Like trying to get technology into safety in construction. And everyone says, okay, how much does this reduce my accident frequency rate, or my propensity for an accident to happen? Is that it's really, really difficult to prove a negative. How do you prove that something didn't happen because of me, right? Like there's so many different variables that go in there. And to your point, right, is that how do you prove a risk didn't happen because we ran the program through NPlan or whatever it was? Like it's so hard to do.
Interesting. All right, Prakash, thank you for joining.
No worries.
Best of luck. We'll see you over there soon.
Yeah, 100%. You all need to come and experience it, right? Like everyone talks about.
I'm in December if you are around.
Yeah, 100%. Let's meet up in December. But all of you, like Alan, I don't know if you've been out recently. Patrick, if you come, Owen, I give you an open invitation just to come and feel the energy and the stuff that's happening. And definitely, if you come, make sure you do a trip to Saudi as well, right? Riyadh is insane. The number of cranes up in Riyadh is absolutely bonkers.
Wow.
Thanks for the hospitality, Prakash.
Thanks, yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you,
Wonderful.
Prakash. See you soon.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thanks.
Bye.
Cool. Okay, guys.
Good energy.
We could. Yeah, nice. Patrick, tell us about Factus. I love the headline. PR team's done a great job here. Factus raises 56 million euros to become Europe's first neobank for construction SMEs. I read
That's
that.
actually
I was
not
like,
PR. That's Kate Lawrence's, the journalist's headline. I think the PR had some completely different headline. I think Kate is doing the better job here.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. No, look. So Factus. Again, I want to have you guys perhaps also talk about your observations here because, sorry, I didn't know that you put it on the agenda, Owen, but I also just don't like propaganda, etc. So let me just sobered way is describe what the company is going after, right? So Factus wants indeed to be a neobank for contractors. The contractors in this case would be small and medium size. So we're not talking the size of Vinci or Bouygues, Eiffage, etc., but the small and medium size, which make up about 92% of the overall contractor population in Europe, and they in turn make up about 90% of the total GDP, so the construction GDP contribution. Yeah? So it's that famous long tail. That's also the case in Europe. So they're going after that. They have found an interesting way to make these contractors switch their bank accounts over to Factus and use that as a primary bank account, which I have never seen anyone else do. Contractors do not walk into bank branches. They only walk there exactly one time and then maybe a second time. The first time when they open it, and the second time when they are short of running out of money and they basically have to have some kind of final lifeline. Other than that, a contractor doesn't walk into a bank branch. They don't like to put on a suit. They don't speak their language. The people there don't understand how projects work, how to charge them for reducing their risk maybe. But also it's just not it's not an industry that the banking sector appreciates. It's, I think, oftentimes a humiliating experience when you walk into a bank branch. And then if you do want money, well, the ask is, can you produce a business plan, please? Because of course we're underwriting as a bank lending you money, your business, not your project, right? So now we need a business plan and it takes 3 months, 4 months. You know what, in 3-4 months, I'm running out of cash. So it just doesn't fit, right? There's no other lending solutions that are hyper specialized. You can get sometimes invoice financing.
So
but it's not
factoring,
really,
right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's not really targeting that. And these factors would oftentimes also on the other side of the invoice have not necessarily like the clients that a factoring provider would necessarily know, right? And so the Factors team comes from interesting backgrounds, and they saw an opportunity here that I fell in love with, and that is, so one of the two founders actually bootstrapped and exited his first company, a tech company, and then he took those proceeds and bought a struggling contractor business. He turned that around through COVID and then exited that business, I think about 3 times larger than he bought it, and again, profitable. So he speaks that language. And then the other co-founder, Reda, he comes from a banking and insurance career. Before co-founding Factors, he was the COO of Coface. Coface is one of the world's largest reinsurance companies. And so he was the COO for the European market. And so the two of them had known each other, for a longer time, I think for about 8 years. And then they came together and they felt like, okay, perhaps we're poised to do this. We speak contractor, we speak banker, we speak project, we speak capital market. I think that was a unique setup, not easy to find, not easy to recreate. And so they've been at it for just under 2 years, actually. And so this round that they raised consists of about $10 million equity that was injected in 2 rounds. So the first pre-seed round led by us, and then the second seed round led by Lakestar, and then a $55 million facility that you unlock through tranches as you deploy more and more capital, and that is about $55 million. But I'm very excited who gave that money, because that is Inside Investment. And Inside Investment is Bank of New York Mellon's asset manager. That's about a 620 billion AUM asset manager, and it's in the league tables of asset management. It's usually in the same ballpark as Apollo. And so that is a very, very high quality institutional type of capital, and they put the guys through the ringer. Just in year 2, which was this year, this was an institutional rigor that was put onto the business that most companies will break at this stage, but not these guys. And I thought they had done a fantastic job just going through that entire treadmill of a process. And now it's a very just institutional grade kind of a startup, which for me was good to see. But and I think contractors love the solution. So I think they finance now 500 companies, 500 customers, and so from here on out, they want to get to deploying these 55.
Yeah, very cool.
What's their capacity, and like how they make? What's the fee structure?
So fee structure, you would have to talk to them. That is something that I guess I'm not in a position to share, Martin. That's something. Let's invite the founders. The capacity is now the 55 million. You're recycling this cash, right? So you can do on a yearly basis with 55. You can finance anywhere between 250 to 300 million of work sites.
Very cool. Yeah, I'd love to see it. We never spoke to them. I've not dived into the product in any capacity myself, so I'd love to speak to them, get them on Bricks and Bytes, and find out a little bit more.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting, actually.
Cool.
I'm curious. So this might not be something that you have access to or capability to share, but I'm curious to learn a little bit about like what does the counterparty default risk look like?
This is my question for the
like
founders. I
construction,
already have it.
right? Like, and maybe that's for the founders, but like, forget the companies that they're funding, but just in general, how bad is it?
So it's not bad at all, which surprised me, but there is a trick, a hack that they use, and that I don't feel at liberty sharing. You should ask you should really invite Reda and Alex and ask them that. So they have found a way that only someone that comes from these two backgrounds could have found, and I'm like, okay, it's probably not my place to share it. But I thought
But this is for the companies that they finance. But in general, for the industry, I imagine it's still terrible.
Well, again, with the trick that they are going after, you can finance large parts of the market. But I feel like dumb saying, "Oh, there's this trick," but I can't tell you what it is. Sorry for doing that. It's just not my place for sharing that, right? But in general, if you didn't have that, banks just banks hate take that risk. It's impossible. Insurers actually hate taking that risk because it's on a project basis. Every contractor is 6 months away from cash out. We all know this, right? And so you don't like to have that. So what you need to have is visibility on cash flows. And that's why owning the bank account is extremely important. That's one of the ingredients that they went after. So I'll give you perhaps one that I think I can share. So when you see the cash flows on the bank account and in a specific country, what are, for example, the social security contributions that the employer has to make that the state either withdraws from your account. That's, for example, in Germany and France the case, or in some other jurisdictions, you're expected to make those contributions. And you're monitoring the cash on the bank account in real time because it's the bank account that they have with you. And these contributions don't happen. You can start your stop clock, right?
Yeah.
So there are ways how you can do it like that, but you have to really embed yourself with a client.
Yeah, makes sense. And like I completely understand. At one point, we tried underwriting projects, and there was no reinsurer that would want to take it.
Yeah,
for similar reasons.
Yeah,
that's why I was asking about counterparty default risk, because it's
yeah.
Project explosion risk is basically similar thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I think we're out of time. Alan, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me,
Patrick. Pleasure as always. We'll see you. I'm disappointed we didn't bring any Halloween masks or anything like that, but next Halloween we shall.
I've got a Grinch.
Someone always comes prepared.
I've got a Grinch. As close as I can get.
Martin and I can still go as cowboys. We still have those hats.
Oh, same. I've got a collection.
Yeah, it's there actually. Which hand will you? What else have you got, Alan? Have you got the wrist thing? No wrist. Grip thing.
The grip strengthener.
Oh yeah, there's a grip strengthener that's always with me on my desk. I mean, this is part of rehab from a car accident, so it's there for a reason.
That explained.
Next episode we do with Alan, we're just going to do a tour of his office.
I mean, there's not a lot to see, but
we got that great YouTube comment by the person that thought we should share more about the step count per day. So we're clearly on the right track here.
Maybe we would.
I'm only at 3,000 today.
How many?
3,000 today. I didn't move much.
9,700.
Patrick? 7. Oh, that's,
No,
that's a bad day for you.
9.7.
Oh,
but
okay,
yes,
that's
that is a bad day.
not bad. Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.